folks, this is Norm the teacher again, and I'm going to do a video that I've been promising you on the Taurus G2C handgun. I've done numerous videos explaining different components and how they work, and then I promised that I would do a video on the overall operation of the gun after I've done those component videos. And so that's what this video is all about, is just the overall operation of this gun. Taurus G2C handgun, 9mm. Okay, to start with, you have ammunition. Right now I don't have ammunition loaded in it, but I'm going to put some in. And since the slide is off, I feel safe putting the ammunition in. To start off with, you have a magazine in the frame. Okay, and then as you can see, the bullet, or not the bullet, but the cartridge is exposed here. Okay, when this slide, and I'm going to take this out for safety purposes. When the slide is in the default position, this the barrel and the chamber are positioned like this, where the chamber part of the barrel is covering this ejection hole. Okay, when you the very first thing you have to do to fire the gun is you have to cock it. And so when you cock it, you pull the slide back. Now when you pull the slide back, it compresses the recoil spring, this spring right here, and it takes the fire, it eventually clears this particular area of the barrel from that hole, like this. Okay, when you do that, put it back together real quick here. When you do that, when you expose that area, well, maybe I better take it out again. It exposes this area. This is called a stripper, what I call the stripper area anyway, where this is the area of the faceplate, and this whole area here is called the faceplate. That exposes that area, because notice one thing, when I put it back together, that when it's together and the slide is in the forward position, that stripping area is closed off by the back of this barrel here, right there. Okay, so when you expose that stripping area while you pull this back, that allows then that when the slide does come forward, that it will pull off, that stripping area will hit this cartridge right here on the very top dome area. And it'll pull it off and pull it into the, push it into the chamber. And while you're also pulling it back and exposing this area, this stripping area, it also locks the firing pin hook right here. It pulls the firing pin hook against its spring tension and hooks that hook over the sear, right, which is located right here. Then when the slide comes forward again, that area I showed you that strips the case or the cartridge from the magazine right here, it pulls that round off and pushes it into the chamber. So it's right about here, and it just pushes it into the chamber. So I'll think of it up here right now, and pushes it on in. Okay, at that point the gun is cocked, the firing pin is hooked over the sear, and you're ready to fire a round. So that's what happens when you cock the gun, when you pull the slide back to get the gun ready for the first shot. All right, then you fire now you're gonna fire the gun. You pull up on the trigger, and what Taurus calls the rear support, which is this area and an extension in the back here, that tab pushes up on the firing pin block, which is a safety feature, which you'll remember from the other videos, is this area right here. This thing that I'm pushing down. This is something you want to make sure is never stuck in the depressed position, because if it is, you don't have a firing pin block then. Okay, when you pull the trigger, that pushes up on that firing pin block so that when the firing pin is released from the sear, because this action also, notice this right here, this action also causes the firing pin hook to be released from the sear. And when it is, so at this point right here is when the firing pin hook will be released from the sear. The firing pin goes forward. The firing pin block is still disabled because this is in the up position, pushing up on that firing pin block. That allows the firing pin to go all the way through the faceplate, go beyond the faceplate, and strike the primer of the cartridge, which is this little circular area right here. That little circular area is called a primer, and that primer is a small explosive. It only goes about this far, right to here. It's a small explosive. When it explodes, there's heat and fire and sparks that goes into the main cartridge area here, which is where the main powder charge is. It explodes that, and that's the explosion that pushes your bullet out with a tremendous force and speed. Okay, so that happens when it's in this position. The firing pin hits this, the primer, bullet goes out the barrel. Then what happens is for every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. You remember that from physics, right? Okay, the cartridge pushes back the slide without you having to do it, because now the cartridge provided the energy to be done automatically or semi-automatically, and it pushes back, and the same thing happens again. The firing pin hooks over the sear. This ejector pushes on the back of the, that hits this case right about here, this cartridge right about here. And while the slide's going back, the case stays put, and the case then ejects out of this hole area. And it's a hole, it'll be a hole then, because when the case goes back, notice how the barrel stays forward. That allows the cartridge to be pulled out of the chamber right here, get into this area, and then the ejector will then, which is that part right here, hits that case and shoots it out. Okay? Get this back together here. All right, so, and then once it ejects the case out, it comes back and locks right here in this position, and the gun is now cocked because the firing pin has been pulled back. It's hooked onto the sear. You pull the trigger again, same thing happens. The rear support pushes up on the firing pin block, the sear is removed or disconnected from the firing pin, and the firing pin goes forward, and the whole cycle repeats itself again. Okay, that in a nutshell is the basic operation of the Taurus G2C handgun. And this has been an unrehearsed video, so I may have left out some small details, but I think I got the main points. Watch my other videos to make sense of all these parts that I mentioned. You know, the ejector and the rear support and the fire. I have separate videos on all those components. So watch those and watch them numerous times to get them in your head. In other words, do your studying. I'm a teacher and I'm telling you right now, you got to study. Study for the test. Yeah, so study those, and and then watch this video again, and then it'll make more sense, because I'm not explaining all the different components right now like I did in the other videos. Don't have time for that. So, whew. Okay, so it's kind of hot in here. I want to thank you for watching my videos, and now that I'm concluding the Taurus G2C, I'm going to start another series of videos on the Charles Dowley 1911 style 45 ACP, ACP meaning automatic Colt pistol, handgun. And I'm going to explain the different components of it, and then my last video on it will also be an overall view of the operation of that gun. And I'll do that for every gun that I do these videos on. So, I'm starting to sweat here. It's about 90 degrees in here. I did one video on this and I was shirtless, and I said, no, you guys aren't going to accept that. I can't teach you anything if I'm grossing you out. So I deleted that video and decided to do this one. At least I put a shirt on, my vest on, and I'm getting hot because of it. So, so long, YouTubers, and I'll see you in the next video.